finally we took this was the duration to reach the final shape, which was between August and October 2019. Then we have gone through a second party opinion stage to get external verification by Cicero, and where we secured the medium green shading as per the previous slides. This process took about 2 months in parallel with the development of the framework. In addition, we again obtained the ESG rating from Sustainalytics, and again this was running in parallel with the second party opinion and sustainable finance framework. So as you can see from this slide, in the context of the COVID-19 pandemic, ISDB has launched a $2.3 billion package under a holistic approach of the 3R. The 3R. The 3R is respond, which is for immediate and emergency intervention, restore, which is for the medium term, and restart for the long-term recovery. And as you can see on the right-hand side, a snapshot of the ISDB COVID-19 response with an integrated package to mitigate the impact of the pandemic on our member countries. The package aligns with the eligible categories of access to essential services and employment generation, as set out in our sustainable finance framework. As you can see on the left-hand side, the response track includes emergency focus on upgrading healthcare systems and upscaling capacity for production of medical equipment. Under the restore track, the focus is on financing trade and SMEs in order to sustain activity and avoid interruption in the supply chain, especially for the health and food segments. And the restart track will focus on the overall economic recovery by leveraging on the private investments to ultimately build resilient economies in the longer term. Again, reflecting on ISDB commitment towards sustainability, the bank has issued its maiden thematic sukuk to finance sustainable projects and investments in member countries, where the bank has raised Euro 1 billion in November 2019, followed by 1.5 billion sustainability sukuk in June 2020. The bank has identified a pool of eligible green and sustainable assets amounting to approximately $6 billion, meeting the eligible criteria in line with the international standards and the SDGs. And again, the flexibility of our sustainable finance framework enabled us to issue sustainability sukuk without any additional work or roadshows. So we have done all the work virtually without any visits or actually conferences as used to happen in the past. Just a brief on the deal itself, or the issuance itself. We can see that the announcement was made in 2020 and the deal was launched on 18th of June to issue the first ever sustainability sukuk, which was AAA rated, similar to ISDB, raising $1.5 billion and priced at a very competitive rate, which is 0.908%. And it has identified eligible categories, which is again access to essential services, employment generations, SME financing, affordable housing, and basic infrastructure. We can see again the key terms of the debut sustainability public issuance sukuk, as you can see in this slide. And we can see that we have a joint book runners of really valuable partners in the capital market space. And the use of net proceeds again will be used to finance new or existing eligible projects in accordance with our sustainable finance framework. And it was listed in Euronext Dublin, Bursa Malaysia, and Nasdaq Dubai. We can see in this slide examples of the projects financed by ISDB to meet with the pandemic impact in member countries. And we can see in Africa, in Turkey, and in Indonesia, sample of the projects with good amounts. The first one on the left is 55.95 million, then Euro 170 million, and finally the largest one was $293 million to meet with the requirements of each and every member country in partnership with other institutions, either other multilateral development banks like the World Bank, or other commercial banking or private sector banks, or even the Ministry of Finance in such countries. So again, at the end, His Excellency, the President, Dr. Bandar Hajjar, the President of ISDB, has actually quoted that with the success of this transaction, he is also calling upon the Islamic finance industry to promote sustainability and social sukuk as an alternate asset class that have the potential to counter the multifold impact of the COVID-19 coronavirus. In ISDB, we believe that industry participants have an important role to promote sustainability and social debt instruments that are compliant with the Sharia law, specifically sustainability sukuk as an alternate asset class that has the potential to demonstrate the core values of Islamic finance. This asset class works both ways for eligible issuers and obligors looking for funding, also for investors who are looking for safe investments in an asset-based and non-speculative instrument, providing reasonable returns in addition to a noble mission of using the proceeds to develop sustainability across the globe. In conclusion, we believe the core values of Islamic finance are strongly correlated with the sustainable and social financing and could be further enhanced by developing new alternative Islamic products that serve such noble purpose. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Yasser, for the very insightful information shared on the ISDB sukuk, sustainable sukuk for the recovery of COVID-19. This was a very informative session. We will now begin the second session and the second showcase presentation, which is entitled Cash Awqaf Linked Sukuk Issuance. Our speaker for the session will be Mr. Muhammad Irfan Sakurna, Deputy Director, Bank Indonesia, the Central Bank of Indonesia. He will be sharing with us the experience on Bank Indonesia on the issuance of sukuk to recovery of COVID in Indonesia. Mr. Muhammad Irfan, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Brother Ahmed. We thank you for Islamic Financial Services Board inviting Bank Indonesia for this prestigious forum. Can you please share the presentation, Brother Ahmed?
Sure.
I still cannot see the presentation, Brother Ahmed.
Yeah, we are sharing it. Yes.
Okay. Yes, next. I'd like to share with all of the participants from all over the world. First is the potential of Indonesia as a country. And then we move to the framework of strategy for developing the integration of Islamic commercial, finance, and social instrument. And then we jump to the last outline is the conclusion. Next, Brother Ahmed. If we see Indonesia as OIC countries, we see that Indonesia is the biggest GDP country in OIC countries. And also Indonesia is the most competitive country in attracting foreign direct investment among OIC countries. It's based by CESRIC OIC. Next slide. If we see about the potential of Islamic commercial finance in Indonesia, the total asset of Islamic finance reach around 100 billion US dollar, and the potential still growing stronger next year, because next year will be a merger of three Islamic bank owned by state-owned enterprise, and then also we have a potential for the bigger asset of the Islamic bank, because some province in Indonesia has issued regional regulation that make the Islamic the financial services in the region must be in Islamic finance. So there will be a conversion of conventional banking to the Islamic banking in a region like Aceh province, and it will add some Indonesian trillion rupiah for the total asset of Indonesia Islamic commercial finance. But we have also to see the potential of other Islamic finance, such as Islamic social finance for the zakat and wakaf. Even the Islamic commercial, the shares still around 9% in Indonesia, but the potential will be bigger for the next year. And we see the other Islamic finance, the Islamic social finance, we can see the potential on the next slide. Please, Brother Ahmed. We can see for the zakat and wakaf, the zakat fund, the potential for the Indonesian will be around 234 trillion rupiah, or around 16.25 billion US dollar. Even the relation only 4.25%, so there's still a room for improvement for the realization of the zakat fund. And also the wakaf fund, the potential according to the Indonesian Wakaf Board, the regulator of Wakaf Indonesia, the potential for Wakaf fund around 180 trillion rupiah, or in USD around 12.5 billion US dollar, while the realization around 0.3%, still very low. So there's still much more room to increase in the realization of the Wakaf. That's why we have to find a solution innovative that could combine or integrate the so-called established Islamic commercial finance with the Islamic social finance, the zakat and wakaf, which has, if we can combine or integrate together, we can boost the development of Islamic finance as a whole. The next slide. How can we framework the strategy for the integration of the Islamic commercial finance and social in Indonesia? Next slide. We in Bank Indonesia has already issued the blueprint of Islamic economic and finance development in 2017. We have three pillars. Pillar one is strengthening Islamic economic, particularly for ecosystem of halal value chain. And the second pillar is deepening the Islamic financial market. That include the development of instrument, which is including the developing instrument, including integration of Islamic commercial and social finance. That's one of our program in our blueprint in Central Bank of Indonesia, especially in deepening the Islamic financial market. Next slide. The framework for developing is integrated Islamic commercial finance, and then we come up with other stakeholders to integrate the Islamic commercial finance, which is the biggest share of Islamic finance in Indonesia. Is Islamic capital market, because if we see from the total asset of Indonesian Islamic finance, around 100 billion US dollar, it's 60% is comprised of Islamic capital market. Especially the sovereign sukuk is very dominate in Indonesia. That's why we choose to make integration the sukuk, the instrument of Islamic capital market in Indonesia. The objective is innovation instrument of Islamic finance and social, and then supporting the role of Nazir, the institution manager of CAF, optimizing of CAF fund for community development, and then providing Islamic investment instrument that safe and benefit for the investor or the Nazir, because it is issued by the government, and also diversification of sovereign sukuk instrument by the government of Indonesia. And also, as the central bank, we have a role, a mandate for financial deepening, including in Islamic finance, also in Islamic social finance. That's the objective why we in Indonesia developing the integration of Islamic commercial finance and social instrument. Next slide. Also in Indonesia, since this year, early this year, we have a national committee for developing of Islamic economic and finance. We call it a Comité Nasional Ekonomi Syariah, or KNIKS, which this is the structure of organization. The chairman is by the President of Republic of Indonesia himself, and the vice chairman is by Vice President of Republic of Indonesia, and we have the secretary for the National Committee by the Ministry of Finance, and we have also management executive of the committee for day-to-day operation, and we have also the member of National Committee for Islamic Economic, which comprise of 16 government institution or state institution, including Bank Indonesia as the Central Bank of Republic of Indonesia. This KNKS, this National Committee, has always bring together the program, the activities to develop all the Islamic finance and Islamic economy, including for this program, the integration of Islamic commercial finance and Islamic social finance. Next slide. Please, brother. This is the mechanism of cash off link sukuk. We call it CULS for the first time. The Republic of Indonesia issued the sovereign sukuk base of Alkaf on March 2020, and this is the first issue. Is the mechanism is for private placement by institution. So this is the scheme. We have Indonesian Alkaf boards, PWI. We have a Ministry of Finance as the issuer, as a representative of the government. The central bank is initiate the model business. Also, the central bank initiate the Wakaf core principle, which is implemented in the Nazir. First, the Nazir is included in this mechanism because the Indonesian Wakaf board, the BWI, has cooperation with this Nazir to operate the hospital. So this sukuk wakaf, sovereign sukuk wakaf, the coupon and the discount will be delivered to this building and the operation of the eye hospital, which is managed by the Nazir. So this is the collaboration between stakeholder, the government of Indonesia, the Indonesian Wakaf Board, the central bank, and also the Islamic Bank as the institution who receive the alpha fund from the institution or for the individual. That makes this mechanism is success in Indonesia and has bring the development for the social benefit for the developing of eye hospital in Banten province. This is the first issue. On March 2020, the tenor for the sukuk is for 5 years, and the monthly payment coupon around 5%, and will be passed to the Nazir for a building and operational of the eye hospital to support the duafa, the poor people in Banten province in Indonesia. Next slide. The advantage of cash recovery sukuk, the instrument is risk-free because issued and guaranteed by government, and the result of investment could be used for creating new wakaf asset and financing for social need, in this case for the eye hospital in Banten province. And also the Indonesian wakaf board is free from tax. So the coupon will 100% used for the beneficiary. There's no tax cutting. And also the fund could use for productive activity. Next slide. The law of BE is initiate of Wakaf core principle, which this Wakaf core principle is could be implemented in the Nazir for making the Nazir is more governance in the operation. As the part of central bank, we cooperate with the Indonesian Wakaf board as the regulator of Wakaf, also with the Islamic Development Bank, with ILT, to issue this international standard for Wakaf, which is issued the IMF World meeting in 2018. The area of regulation is WCP is legal foundation, Wakaf supervision, governance, risk management, and Sharia governance, which is if implemented in the Nazir, the institution managed Wakaf, we hope that the governance of Nazir is could be increased and maintain the sustainability. That's why the Nazir could cooperate with the Indonesian Wakaf Board and the government of Indonesia for the scheme of CWRS. Next slide. And the Republic of Indonesia also issued the second CWRS. This is for the retail investor. On November 24th of November, the Ministry of Finance has issued. And now the difference between the first is the Ministry of Finance operate directly to the Islamic Bank as the receiving institution for the Awqaf Fund. And then the Islamic Bank cooperate with more than one Nazir. This is 7 Nazir. And this 7 Nazir has some project for social benefit for the poor. And that's why the Waqif for investor could choose which one they want to support the Mawqif alai, the receiving benefit. And also there's the involvement of other stakeholders. There's the regulatory or supervisor of the Islamic Bank. This is the FSA, who will maintain the health and the rating of the Islamic Bank when the Islamic Bank do this scheme. And also the stakeholder, the Ministry of Religious Affairs, and also Indonesian Awqaf Board as the regulator of the Waqaf of Nazir that could maintain the sustainability and the rating of the Nazir when they do this mechanism of cash recovery sukuk for the retail investor. Next slide. The conclusion is, next slide, the potential of Islamic economic and finance as the new source of growth, including in the era of pandemic, including in optimizing Islamic social finance. Realizing its potential is by doing the innovation in new instruments that could be self-integrated, the Islamic commercial finance instrument like sukuk with the social wakaf. And we, the central bank, can participate, contribute actively in integration of Islamic commercial and social, such as initiate business model and also enhance the governance of Islamic social finance institution, because we have experience in Islamic banking, so we can create, compose some international standard, collaborate with other stakeholders as the regulator, like Ministry of Religious Affairs and Indonesian Awqaf Board, that make this innovation could succeed and received by the market and investor. So the collaboration with other stakeholders is a must, because it included many institutions and many parties to make this mechanism is a succeed. I would like to share two slides, the last two slides, to share to all the participation about the Indonesia in the global Islamic economic and finance. Alhamdulillah, step by step, Indonesia is realizing its potential as the biggest Muslim countries in the world. It can be seen, acknowledged by its position in global indicator report of Islamic economic and finance. Like last week, we see the state of global Islamic economic indicator has increased the position of Indonesia as country to the 4th position, which is the biggest leap from Indonesia. In the last 10 years, we are in the position in below 6 or 7 rating in the world, but now it's 4th position. Even some report, next slide, has position, next slide, please, Brother Ahmed. Next. Even some report like the Global Islamic Finance Report in 2019 has placed Indonesia is #1 in Islamic Finance Country Index, thanks to the National Committee, the innovation, because now in Indonesia we have a National Committee for Islamic Economic and Finance Development, chairman himself by the President and the Vice President. That makes Indonesia go stronger in developing the Islamic economic finance. Also, the last report is by the collaboration between ICD, ISDB with the Infinity. We have also increased 6 positions to the 4th position in the Islamic Finance Development Report 2019. That's my sharing. I hope the participation enjoy. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you, Mr. Muhammad Irfan Sakurna, from sharing the experience of Bank Indonesia on the cash or link sukuk issuance. It was a very insightful session. And following on that, before we actually move to the third session, I would like to highlight that for those who has any inquiries, any feedback, or they wanted to ask any question, you actually can write up your question in the chat, or we actually receive it through an email, and we will direct it to the speakers later on, inshallah, before we end the session. We will now begin our third session on the Innovation Forum entitled Digital Solution for Financial Inclusion and SMEs Growth. Our speaker for this session is Dr. Muhammad Ramadan Fitri bin Ilyas, Head of Strategy, Maybank Islamic Malaysia. Dr. Ramadan, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm not so sure whether everyone should greet with good afternoon, or maybe some of the participants are good morning or even good evening. Depends on the location or the localities where they're listening to this webinar session. Maybe before I go straight into my presentation, just to check whether the technical arrangement is good for this, I asked help from Sister Izzah to manage the slide. Sister Izzah, can we go to the second slide? Okay, so it works. So first and foremost, on behalf of Maybank Islamic, I would like to extend our gratitude and sincere thanks to the organizer for giving us this platform to share some of the insights as well as our own experience in this journey to digitalize solutions for Islamic finance. And my specific angle for my presentation is to showcase some of the initiative that is not just helping in terms of increasing the customer experience when dealing with Maybank Islamic in particular, but also helps to achieve the financial inclusion agenda, and at the same time helps to provide better access to Islamic finance to underserved segments, especially for the micro and nano enterprises. So I would like to angle my presentation to touch on these two prevalent themes in my presentation, inshallah. The next slide. Maybe just before I go into further details on my presentation, just to quote a statement, and this statement actually truly reflective our perspective on digital finance or digital Islamic finance journey, where Datuk Farid Alias, which is the President CEO of Maybank Group, mentioned that being the digital bank of choice goes beyond launching new apps or services online. It encompasses analyzing customers' behaviors and needs, and then delivering a solution to address that demand. We believe this ensures our continued relevance to our customers. So this is our perspective at Maybank Islamic, as well as Maybank Group at large, that digital or even financial technology per se is not a solution by itself. It is an enabler. It is a strategic enabler. But this enabler should be, positioned together with a very clear business model, very clear Islamic financial ecosystem, if I can use that solution or that word, sorry, and And by this, I mean combination between the right business model, a clear and profound understanding of the customer's appetite, and we plug together with the high-end enablement from the financial technology. So we believe that by this combination, we can provide a meaningful Islamic financial solution to our client. The next slide. So just a quick high-level updates on some of the ongoing digital initiatives at Maybank Islamic as well as at the Maybank Group. Because when we embark into digitalization of financial solutions, it's not just for conventional banking or even for Islamic banking. So we always looking at a joint venture or partnership between Islamic finance and conventional finance. But I must say that in some of the initiative, Islamic finance do have, strategic advantages because of the solutions or because of the proposition of Islamic finance, which doesn't have a equivalent feature at the conventional banking space. So we can use this enabler or this instrument to serve the unique proposition or to attain the unique proposition of Islamic finance. A very high level updates on our initiative. We launched early of this year, Maybank Anywhere Everywhere, which is the first ever Sharia compliant e-wallet in Malaysia, if not in the world. We also just launched the Maybank Digital Wealth application, which is one of the very unique features under the much improved Maybank app. We call it May by Maybank to You. I will touch on that slightly later. We also have this feature of e-marketplace. And for e-marketplace, we start with a B2C platform, business to customers for the first phase. And we have a bigger plan for our e-marketplace to be part of our overall digital proposition to our clients. And the fourth one is STP or straight-through processing. So straight-through processing also have underwent few phases. We start with straight-through processing where just to cater the front end or the application till the approval process. So we have this for multiple products for retail as well as SME segment. But the new level or the new phase of straight-through processing is not just consists of application and approval, but also the drawdown or the disbursement of the facility. And one of the very new product that we powered this kind of STP is, we call it Islamic SME Digital Financing, which I will share in this slide pretty detailed in the next few slides, inshallah. QR Pay, Reimagine Maybank to You. This is one of the, very early digital or e-banking solutions in Malaysia. But now it has been elevated to not just catering a typical banking needs of our retail clients, especially, but also to embed a lot more lifestyle related as well as real economic activities needs from our clients. Also, one of the very specific initiatives that we roll out, especially post-COVID-19 outbreak, we call it Sama-Sama Local, where we help the small and micro enterprises to be onboarded into this e-marketplace. And we also subsidize the delivery fee within certain range of delivery. And actually, we managed to help at the first phase of this Sama-Sama Local more than 10,000 micro enterprises, be them involved in the F&B, food and beverages businesses, most of them in this F&B segment. But also we eventually embark those involved in groceries and other stuff, which related to consumer needs. And of course, we just launched the new Maybank app. We call it May by Maybank to You, which also coupled together or also embedded together our e-wallet as one of the features of May by Maybank to You. So in total, our perspective on digital banking or the future of Islamic finance in more specific perspective, the future of Islamic finance is very much dependent on how it can integrate with the real economic activities as well as the lifestyle of the prevalent society. So, and we believe that digital and financial technology will help to enable this connection or integration between Islamic financial solutions and the real economic activities as well as lifestyle activities of a given society. So this is our belief, and some of the initiative that already undertaken reflective of such conviction or belief. The next slide. So later I will just cover on the two instruments in specific. The first one is on the May e-wallet, and the second one is on the Islamic digital financing and how it helps to provide better access to the micro and small enterprises to Islamic financial solutions. Maybe I start first with the e-wallet. So May is the first e-wallet introduced in Malaysia. And from the guideline perspective, one of the main guidelines that regulate the e-wallet offering is the e-money guideline issued by Bank Negara. And at the same time, from Sharia perspective, I think maybe some of you are quite aware that the SAC or Sharia Advisory Council of Bank Negara Malaysia just issued a guideline with regard to the e-money guideline or the e-wallet activities. And for the Sharia contracts used for the e-wallet activities is wakalah contract. So we start with card, but with the further guidance from SAC of Bank Negara, we enhance the contract, and the underlying current Sharia contract is the wakalah contracts, where the bank acts on behalf of the user of the e-wallet to make a payment and to provide, the needs of the customer based on their choice when they use the e-wallet, which we call it as May here. So the next slide. So last 2-3 months, we just launched a new app of Maybank. We call it May by Maybank to You. And one of the permanent feature or one of the key features of May by Maybank to You is the May e-wallet itself, which is the Sharia compliant e-wallet. And among the key features of this e-wallet and May by Maybank to You app is actually we provide financial inclusion to the underserved segment. I give you one real examples for this. And I will share some of the projects that we use this app as well as the e-wallet to provide a better access for Islamic finance to the underserved segments. So one of the key features that we mentioned in this slide is it is the top right in this slide 4, which is financial inclusion driven by technology. So we can onboard the depositor or the user of the app as well as e-wallet through digital platform. So you didn't have to go to the branches to open your accounts, and this is really helpful, especially in the period of restricted physical movement because of the COVID-19 pandemic. And at the same time, compared to the normal banking accounts where you have to place a sizable or significant upfront placement from the customer, the e-wallet actually allow you to be onboarded without any placement. But if you want to do the next transaction, then you have to have at least 10 ringgit in your digital banking platform. So basically, with this facility, even the underserved segment, the rural folks can have access to digital banking account, which work exactly the same like the normal banking account. But of course, there is some restriction in terms of the maximum limit that you can have in your digital banking account, and what is the transaction limit for per annual basis, for example. There is some restriction because eKYC for this kind of digital banking account is much more simpler compared to the full-fledged banking account traditionally. But I think this is a very meaningful solutions to our clients or to the underserved segment that even doesn't have any banking account to begin with. So we have a pilot test, and I will share one of the success story in a slide later. And at the same time, one of the very key features of our May by Maybank to You app is to nurture and to inculcate a good discipline in terms of financial literacy and financial planning for the users. So it contains financial and education content in terms of better visibility in terms of the asset and liabilities. And also you can even come up with your own savings plan or savings goals using the instrument within the app. So this is among the features of the latest Maybank app, or Maybank to You, May by Maybank to You app, which not only serve certain lifestyle activities, but more importantly, it provides banking account means to the underserved segments with a very minimal requirements compared to the traditional or typical banking account. And at the same time, that comes together with financial literacy and financial planning tools within the app itself. So this is something that we have witnessed some of the success stories, and one of the success stories in the next slide, we showcase one collaboration between the ministry that looking for the domestic consumers. We call it in Malaysia KPD and KK. In the next slide, please. Yeah, so this is the collaboration between KPD and HEP. This is the ministry that looking at the consumer goods as well as the domestic consumer affairs. And they have two agencies within this ministry, which is SSM. SSM is a company's commissioner in Malaysia, and also Food Bank Malaysia, which is one NGOs established under the KPD and HEP. So what happened is that SSM provided or paid their commercial zakat, annual zakat, and they allocated 2 million for to support the underprivileged university students who stranded in the universities. They cannot go back to their hometown because of the restriction or because of the MCO that time. So we introduced this solution to KPD and HEP, where they can distribute their zakat through Maybank to You. And a significant quarter of the recipients of this zakat actually doesn't have Maybank account that time, and they just have one single account with other bank. So we help them to create a new banking account. At the same time, we onboarded them into the e-wallet platform, and they receive 500 ringgit each from the zakat distribution. So in terms of the overall impacts of this program, 4,000 students are the beneficiaries of this zakat distribution program through the e-wallet instrument. Each of them receive 500 ringgit, more or less. And then at the same time, the e-wallet is not just enabled the distribution of zakat, but because of the e-wallet able to provide some high-level data in terms of the consumption of the 500 ringgit or any amount placed in the e-wallet. But of course, we are mindful about the PDPA. So we provide this kind of the data points for KPD and HEP to better strategize the next round of zakat distribution or the next round of the government subsidies to the people. So with these data points, they know actually what is the key or main needs of the customers in terms of the consumer goods, for example. So based on these data points, some data points are quite high level, some data points are quite detailed, but this collection of data points was really helpful and beneficial for the government to re-strategize if needed in terms of the distribution of subsidies or distribution of zakah in future using the data points that we can provide it by using the e-wallet as the means to distribute the zakah or the government subsidy. So this is one of the area that we have successful pilot tests in the past. And at the same time, apart from this project, we also distributed Maybank Islamic own zakat funds to the less privileged asnaf using Maybank to you, or using the May e-wallet. And I think by doing this, we also help some of the underserved segment that previously even didn't have any access to banking system or even the banking account. By onboarding them through the e-wallet platform, automatically they also have a digital banking account, which have with them the banking or the account numbers, and they can use that banking account numbers for normal transfer or even normal withdrawal, because if they subscribe to e-wallet, they will also receive the debit card, so they can use for paywave transaction as well as the normal cash withdrawal at ATM machines. But of course, we try to encourage the cashless transaction through May e-wallet. So this is, of course, this is the primary motivation of the e-wallet. So maybe I move to the second instrument, which is the Islamic SME Financing. The next slide, Iza. So actually, when we look at our database in Malaysia in terms of the SMEs, I think we are cognizant of the fact that 80% of the registered SMEs in Malaysia actually have at least an account bank with Maybank or Maybank Islamic. 80% of the registered SMEs in Malaysia have banking account, be it in Maybank Islamic or Maybank Group. But at the same time, it's less than 30% of them is actually qualified to be considered for a credit facility, conventional loan, or Islamic financing. And one of the key or one of the main pinpoints for them is to provide, a proper disclosure on their cash flow and the financial statement. At the same time, they have some difficulties in terms of providing security or collateral in order to secure financing from a particular Islamic bank or conventional bank. But I think we learn from these pinpoints, and of course, the bottom line for SME financing is to get them to be our client, at least to maintain one current or savings account. And from there, we gather data. So we gather information about them, not just about their cash flow, not just about their financial data points, but also some behavioral data. Whether they constantly, for example, pay their debt, for example, whether they constantly make a fund transfer on monthly basis. So we gather this financial information as well as some behavioral data. We combine them, we put them into our machine learning. And alhamdulillah, when we do this and when we benchmark against our competitors, actually the nearest to our offering is not a bank. and the nearest actually competitor which have similar capabilities like what we have, and we just launched this about 1 month or so, is actually Alibaba. So under this Islamic SME financing, the application status, the approval status can be known within 10 minutes. And if the customer have more longer experience with us, even within that 10 minutes, they can even get the drawdown settled within the first 10 minutes. Yeah. No much documents required from the customer because we have tracked, or we have the enough pool of data points in terms of their financial as well as behavioral data. Financing disbursement as fast as 1 minute, no collateral required, available online 24/7. And the next slide, which is my last slide for this presentation. This is among the features of our Islamic digital financing, and I would like to highlight some of them. The first one is on the financial inclusion, and we have enough surprising data after we launched this for about 1 month or so. A sizable numbers of startup companies that just been in the business for the last 1 year obtained the financing from Maybank Islamic. So the typical SME financing normally requires you to provide 3 years of financial statements and evidence that you were in the business for the last 3 years. But for us, we saw with this latest digital offering under the realm of SME, we provided to a sizable recipients of startups with just have 1 year experience in the business, but they maintain their account properly, even though they don't have collateral, even though they have very, still limited funds, whatnot, but because we are able to have, the historical data points, and when we upload them into the machine learning, we have some predictive data points as well from the machine learning. So we are able to provide financing to them or working capital to them without any security or collateral placed to us. So this is the first point. Second point is on the data driven. So the whole benefits of the digital financing, I believe, is on the data gathering feature, because when you are onboarded digitally, so we have the access in terms of your financial data as well as behavioral data, and the most important thing is we can process and we can profile the customer based on the data that we have. And because of the advancement of the current AI technology, whatnot, so we can use this data and process them through machine learning. Yeah, and from that we can better profile the customer. We have, of course, the historical data and some predictive trend based on the historical data that we study, and algorithm helps to come up with some predictive trends to the customer. So this is the benefits of having a digital platform for this kind of facility. So the rest is, of course, the speed and convenience, about the efficiency, about the full online or fully online customer journey. So I think my presentation should end here, and I'm happy to receive any comments. Hopefully, no questions. And if you ask me a too difficult question, I will answer with a very easy answer. I don't know. So back to you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Dr. Ramadan, for the very insightful session and presentation. Actually, there's a few questions being addressed to yourself. Let me just start with this question first, which is We don't have the name of the attendees. He or she wanted to be anonymous. The question says, what kind of arrangements or verification is there at the back end for the SME's digital financing applicants' approval?
I'm not the product owner for this, but in short, I mean the form or the information needed from the customer is very minimal, because we already have data points about their business when they subscribe to our banking accounts or maybe other facilities with us, and at the same time, we have very regular updates in terms of other insights based on their conduct of the account. So when it comes to the information required from the customer at point of application was very, very minimal. I have to apologize because I cannot give a very specific answer to that question. But what I can say from the overall digital strategy, the requirements are quite minimal, and it's not comparable to the typical application process under the traditional channels.
Thank you, Dr. Ramadan. Yeah. Okay, with the same. Let's continue on the same. There's a question on the maximum amount for SMEs financing.
For now, we for these RSME, we have few packages and we have few tranches. I think we roll out, I think between the range of 100K and 150K, depends on certain criteria. But this is between the range of 100 to 150K per client, per customer.
Yeah, thank you.
And this is a clean basis. This is unsecured, or this is without collateral.
Okay. I think this is clear. Thank you very much. I think there's also, again, I think this question is more related also to the application. I mean, what data points require for my bank Islamic SMEs, and is it indigenously developed or a third-party solution? This is, I think, mostly to backend, maybe.
Maybe the first one first. This is all in-house developed.
Yes.
There is no third party involved in this data gathering, data mining, data gathering. When it comes to the requirements, as I said, was very minimal, and because we have good appreciation about the customer's conduct of their financial, as well as some data points relating to their behavior. So in terms of the application information needed for the application was really minimal.
Okay, I'll go back to the first question. So it just the same person asked again, what's the level of human interaction in the place for this approval?
For this one, I could say zero interaction, human interaction. End to end is via the straight-through processing from the application until the disbursement.
Okay, thank you very much. And I think for now, another last question. How do you determine the eligibility for customers not having accounts with you?
Yeah, of course. For the customer account, first and foremost, they have to pass our KYC. KYC, and now we also adopting eKYC as per the Bank Negara guideline. In terms of the normal account opening for the enterprises, you have to submit all the registration details with the SSM, and then you have to provide your all the license for the business. So this is the typical requirement to open up or to subscribe to the SME banking accounts. Actually, this is not the main thing. The main thing is actually we have data points for the last 1 year, for the last 2 years, for the last 3 years in terms of the conduct of your financial statement overall, as well as we have some visibility in terms of the behavior of the customer. which this is the game changer for this Islamic SME digital financing. It's not about the requirement to be onboarded under the business banking account.
Thank you, Dr. Ramadan. I think for this session, we had quite a few number of inquiries and questions, and Dr. Ramadan kindly has responded to all of the questions. Thank you, Dr. Ramadan. Again, thank you for your presentation.
Yeah, thank you so much.
And I would now actually, while we are actually waiting for the fourth showcase, as I think the speakers has some difficulties participating on the showcase from Oman, from Al-Iz Bank. I would like to open the questions or open the floor for the participants. If they have any inquiries on the first and second showcase by the first one by the Islamic Development Bank for Dr. Yasser, and the second for Mr. Irfan from Bank Indonesia. If there is any questions related to those cases, please type in your questions and feedback or your inputs while we actually get into our fourth showcase. I don't see any question on participation, so please allow me to actually have last comments or inputs by each of the speakers while actually we get something from our colleagues in Oman. I will go back now to Dr. Yasser from the IDB for his actually remarks. Dr. Yasser, if you don't mind, the floor is yours. And we hope that we have some feedback from your side.
Well, thank you very much for organizing this extremely important forum for the benefit of the industry and industry participants. I would say at the closing remarks from our side that each and every item or topic discussed in this forum is actually linked somehow. So even if we start with sustainability or sustainable finance or the sustainability so-called case, it's actually linked to innovation and digital transformation. So if we say that innovation, this is a new modality of financing that is important and it's considered as an alternate asset class for the industry participants, and we can link this with digital transformation. So we need to have a digital platform to include this, to include the asymmetric information on touch mode of financing. We need to ensure that we have digitalization with the capital markets instruments. So we need to have a mode of digital or platform to include all of these Islamic products in some digital format across the industry. And for the retail part of the game, it's always important to ensure that technology now is the king, and technology is actually the key for the success of the industry as a whole. As mentioned in the presentations of various speakers, again, this is the distinctive nature of Islamic financing. We see that conventional finance is actually more advanced somehow, and I believe that we need to be more innovative and creative to reach the equilibrium with the conventional modes of financing. Thank you very much.
Dr. Yasser, I just actually got the questions for you. So they just please update us whether these sukuk actually are frequently traded in the secondary market.
Yes, the sukuk is very active in the secondary market. We have a couple of sukuks under the Sustainable Finance Framework. One is the green sukuk issued in November 2019, and the second one is the dollar sukuk, 1.5 billion sustainability sukuk, issued in June 2020, and those are actively traded in the secondary market through either one of the ISDB affiliates or the JLMs or the joint lead arrangers. And we can see the secondary curve on Bloomberg on a daily basis. So yes, it's very actively traded.
Thank you very much, Dr. Yasser. It was a pleasure having you also, and thank you for answering the questions. Now I move to Mr. Irfan Sakurna from Bank Indonesia for your final round out.
Okay, thank you, Brother Ahmed. Thank you, Dr. Ramadan from Bank Islamic and Dr. Yasser from Islamic Development Bank. I agree with the presentation both from Dr. Yasser and for Dr. Ramadan. That's the key for the future for the Islamic economic and finance is a link between the Islamic and sectorial, because we know if we see the halal industry globally or locally, both in Malaysia or Indonesia, maybe the financing from Islamic finance for the industry halal industry less than 30%, I think, both in Malaysia and Indonesia or even the global. Most of halal industry is financing by non-Islamic finance. So that's the opportunity for Islamic finance to grow bigger in the opportunity for financing the halal industry. So the ecosystem for the Islamic economic and finance will be completely and comprehensive. And more of that, also we have to think about the development of Islamic social finance, the zakat, the wakaf, the infaq, the sadaqah. We can make it integrated, the instrument between the Islamic commercial finance and the social finance. Like we do in Indonesia, we issue the cash wakafling sukuk by the government. This is the sovereign sukuk, but based by wakaf. So it is deepening the financial market for Islamic finance, also encouraging the developing of Islamic finance, linking to the well-established Islamic commercial finance. I think this is one of the new source of growth for the Islamic economic finance. And the third is the digitalization. Islamic finance or conventional finance now, especially in this pandemic, we have to face the non-physical meeting, non-physical agenda. So digitalization is very important for Islamic commercial finance, for Islamic social finance, zakat, wakaf, and also the link between commercial and social, also between banking and fintech. Because if banking alone, I think, could not catch up with the speed, the development of fintech. So the good strategy for this banking, also the conventional banking, is collaborate with the fintech. And we do in Indonesia have collaboration between Islamic banking and fintech technology, and also link with the Islamic social fund. So these three is the key for the future for the development of Islamic economic finance in the world. Thank you, Brother Ahmed. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullah. Dr. Ramadan, now, I mean, I would like also to listen to you again. Any remarks in general and as inputs from your side?
Yeah, thanks, brother. I would like to fully echo the statement made by Brother Irfan from Bank of Indonesia, that the future of Islamic finance, and even as we speak now, even the practitioners of the conventional banking realize that even future for banking, conventional banking at large, is how to integrate with the real economic activities. But I think for Islamic, we have a clearer path, because when we look at the nominate contract, if I can say the uqud musamma, from the fiqh literatures, the contracts like mudaraba, musharaka, wakalah bil istismar, ijara for that matter, or even murabaha, tripartite murabaha, actually link with the real economic activities. And I think one of the beauty of the financial technology advancement, they can become a very high end or I mean far-reaching enabler to help us to, I mean, integrate and to connect with the real economic activities. And I believe that within the space of Islamic finance, one of the area that still underdeveloped, like what has been mentioned by Mr. Irfan, is actually on the Islamic social finance. But I think maybe Mr. Irfan also can share further on his insight. But how we do Islamic social finance is not just based on philanthropy format or base. We have to also, I mean, innovate how we do Islamic social finance, even for zakah, for example. So there is a need not only from the business model perspective, but also with the very high quality research from the Sharia fraternity, for example, to what extent we can innovate, I mean, the zakat programs or the zakat assistance to the beneficiaries, whether it must be in cash, for example, or it can be in kind, because this is some of the unsettled issues to some Sharia jurisdictions. Yeah, so I think even to mention Islamic social finance, there is a lot more thoughts need to be put in order to have a really vibrant Islamic social finance, not just to help, but to empower the underserved segments. So we have to, I mean, elevate, or we have to shift from the helping mindset to empowering mindset using the zakah, waqaf, especially on the cash waqaf, and the charity of the sadaqah. So and we believe, and actually this is also part of our internal journey at Maybank Islamic, is how to use or deploy financial technology in order to innovate Islamic social finance, tapping on the potential of zakat, cash waqaf, especially cash waqaf that we are focusing now, and sadaqah. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ramadan. Your feedback is very much appreciated and valued. I actually have with me also Dr. Rifki Ismail, Assistant Secretary General of the IFSB, and I would like him to actually interact with us while we get our last session on his feedback and his inputs on the topic and on the innovation in the times of COVID-19 for the COVID-19 recovery.
Yes.
Dr. Rifki.
Yes, Brother Ahmad, thank you so much. First of all, I do appreciate participation and very fruitful sharing from our speakers, very pronounced, very expert speakers in our event. And I do also agree with the speakers that we are now having a new lessons, yeah, from pandemic. And a pandemic has, I mean, give us a good lessons in terms of first digitalization, and then secondly transformation, not only the banking but also the economic in general. And also the pandemic gives us a good lessons that we need to have a mixture, a combination between Islamic commercial and Islamic social finance. And on top of that, we also encourage, or not also encourage, but we need to have a collaboration, a policy mix between monetary, fiscal, financial sector, and other economic sector. My question would be, if I'm allowed to ask Dr. Yasir, yeah, how ready is the Islamic economy, yeah, to face this challenge in the future? And then to Dr. Ramadan, how ready is the Islamic banking, yeah, to answer this challenge and to be a new face of Islamic banking in the future, right after pandemic, inshallah? Thank you. Dr. Yasir, if you may, I mean, if you don't mind to answer my question, if you have some thought probably. Or Dr. Ramadan, if Dr. Nadir is probably he is having something.
Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Rifki. A very good question from a learned individual. Thank you. Thank you so much. Um, I must say that when it comes to adoption of financial technology or digital solutions among Islamic finance are relatively still low. I think still within the Islamic finance fraternity, digital banking or fintech for that matter is still a buzzword. Everyone seems to talk about digital banking, financial technology, but I think we still don't have like a proper business model on how to use or how to deploy financial technology effectively in order to create or to, galvanize the impacts from the adoption of the digital technology. I must say that even in Malaysia, because Malaysia is relatively an advanced Islamic finance market, but the adoption of financial technology or digital technology within the realm of Islamic finance are relatively low. And I think there are a few factors to that. The cost wise is also one of the consideration. At the same time, in terms of the expertise, and the third one is about the talent development, because we need relevant or proper talents trained in this area. To drive and to execute the digitalization project. So I think in terms of the level of awareness, in terms of the digital banking, Islamic banks do recognize the value of digital solution. But when it comes to literacy, I still believe that we have to work further on the literacy of the digital solutioning, financial technology, the usage of a lot of technologies out there into the solutioning or into originating or developing Islamic finance solution. Is the areas that we need to still working on, and I believe that with the COVID-19, or one thing that I'm quite certain is the adoption of digital banking has become something that faster rather than slower. So that is the blessing in disguise from this COVID-19. I think the adoption of the digital banking or digital solutions become a lot more efficient.
Thank you, Dr. Ramadan. I agree with you. Also, when we talk about digitalization, we should also be aware that there are some new risks coming together with the digitalization. First, of course, we cannot digitalize everything. Yeah. Human interaction, even human trust cannot be built just based on the digitalization approach. And then secondly, if we digitalize everything and then every activity is becoming digitalized. For example, when we go outside, we use online transportation, online banking, online education. Everything is being online. And then once in a while, if the online system is dropped, everything is stuck. So every human activity is stuck because for example, internet connection. Just simple question, just simple fact. When internet connection is interrupted, and then everything is stuck. So it's not only, for example, in transport, but also banking, payment system, everything. So we should also be aware on this. And then thirdly, of course, as we also aware the risk of hacker, hacker, and then the transparency or the confidentiality of our data, because everything is being digitalized. It is very difficult for us to have a confidentiality of the data and information. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I completely agree with you, Dr. Rifki, that not everything can be digitalized. Yeah, I think even our thoughts in Maybank Islamic, but of course this is still subject to further discovery and further a challenge our counterparts, or even with the experts on this, that only templatized portfolio can be digitalized. Yeah, when it comes to some solutioning, we cannot digitalize those product stream or that processes. But we believe that even when as we speak now, digitalization is relatively low within the space of Islamic finance. Especially we can do digitalization, especially on the front end, for example, and then the processing needs human interaction or human involvement. But so far, we still think that when it comes to the corporate banking, this is always very personalized relationship. And even our data points shows that certain segments of our affluent customers or high net worth customers also prefers personalized interaction rather than digital solution for them. Yeah, I think this is very much related to the nature of human being, right? So we sometimes we always treasures the convenience. We want something that really easy and really convenient to us. So because of that, not all segments of business can be digitalized. But we believe that in terms of the profiling of the customer, in terms of how you put a score to customer, digital solutions, especially on the data gathering, using and also deploying machine learning in terms of profiling your customer, this is something that we can adopt pretty much cut across all business segments. But when it comes to the fronting the customer, some segments, human touch is simply irreplaceable for now. Until we see, because technology also shape, the culture and the behavior of the society. We don't know about the future, but currently seems that human interaction is simply irreplaceable. Yeah. So for now, we're just looking at the templatized portfolio of financing. At the same time, to provide deposit or banking accounts to our customer. So this is completely can be quite easily digitalized, and I think this is the area that we are focusing on for now. In terms of confidentiality, yes, we need to strike a proper balance between the confidentiality of customers' information, in terms of ethics, being the agent for the customer, being the safekeeper of the customer's money, being the the preferred partners to the customer. Of course, we have to adhere to certain standard, but at the same time, we also think that if we have better transparency, we can assess the needs of our customer better. We can determine the credit scoring of the customer in more precise manner. And I think in Malaysia, unlike in Singapore, because Singapore they have adopted the open banking system, where in terms of getting the customer information is much more seamless. Compared in Malaysia, we are still not adopting the open banking system, where in this market, getting the data is not your advantage, but how you utilize the data will give you the differentiation compared to your competitor. So, of course, confidentiality is something that we cannot compromise, but I believe that better transparency, better disclosure help us to understand customers better in terms of its credit profiling, at the same time in terms of the needs of the customer. So we need to strike balance between these two ends of confidentiality and the transparency and disclosure.
Thank you, Dr. Ramadan. A very clear and very informative thought and ideas coming from you. Dr. Yasir, probably, if you have connected or if you have some thought, please.
Hello, Assalamu alaikum.
Yes, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Well, actually, I have nothing specific to be added on this topic, to be honest.
Okay, or do you have some thought? I mean, is Islamic economics ready for the future? I mean, to have some sort of new performance, I mean, because in the upcoming future, we will see Islamic economic with more digitalization aspect, more, I mean, transformation in terms of the product, in terms of the system, and in terms of the human resource. And then probably we can have, I mean, a different kind of the practice or idealism of Islamic economics. What do you think about that?
Well, I'm generally optimistic about this, and I think the industry is ready, but again, the capacity needs to be built. So we need some sort of capacity building, especially in terms of operations and resources and whatever. So as we are, again, a bit fascinated in ISDB with the sustainable finance mood, or the mood of financing that it's related to green and sustainable finance, we believe that digitalization is very important, because investors would need, for example, a sort of reporting and a sort of information to be able to make their investment decisions, and this needs a digital platform, a digital format. This one is actually in the pipeline for a while now, for a long time, and the industry is actually trying to develop, but I would say the pace is very slow. People are optimistic, and the industry participants are optimistic about digitalization and about innovation and about the development in this aspect, but the pace has been really slow, probably due to the lack of resources, or probably due to the pandemic, which has put everything on hold in many institutions. So I would say these are the challenges we have, the resources, but generally speaking, I am very optimistic about this.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Yasir. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Rafki. I think we come into the end of today. We had difficulties communicating with the speakers. I think they have some issues logging into the Zoom in Oman. But of course, on behalf of the FSB, I would like to thank our respected speakers for their contribution, participation, and the sharing of experiences in today's session. For our dear delegates, participants, thank you very much for your participation, engagement in the Innovation Forum. We do appreciate it, and we do apologize if there were any shortcomings from our side at the Secretariat. Thank you for spending time with us today, and we are looking forward for future participation. This is Ahmed Barakat, and it was a pleasure being with you today. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Thank you. Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Dr. Yasir. Thank you, Dr.
Thank
Ramadan.
you, Dr. Rifki.
Thank you.
Dr. Yasir, Dr. Ramadan, Brother Ahmed. Thank you.
Very much.
Assalamualaikum.
Thank you very much.
Salam.
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you.